An increasing number of disturbances along Texas's Rio Grande border after the Civil War broke out in Mexico in 1910 prompted U.S. President William Taft to consider increasing the U.S. military presence in the area. Hugh B. Moore, Texas City Terminal Railway executive, and Augustus B. Wolven, developer of Texas City's port and owner of the steamship line, persuaded U.S. officials to establish an army camp in Texas City as a strategic point for possible troop movements in Mexico. In March 1912, approximately 14,000 Army personnel comprising 3 infantry brigades, 1 regiment each of cavalry and field artillery, 1 battalion of engineers, 1 single corps company, 1 field bakery, 1 field hospital, and an aviation squadron set up camp in the northern part of Texas City. The Army camp's air squadron was the first of its kind in the nation. Pilots of the 8th aircraft located here set flight records for distance and speed and entertained spectators with flying exhibition. A local economic boom brought on by the camp ended abruptly when a major hurricane destroyed the camp and damaged some buildings in Texas City in 1915. The camp was not restored, and many of its personnel were later stationed along Texas-Mexico border.
In 1913, the newly incorporated city of Texas City became home for nearly 10,000 soldiers of the 2nd Infantry Division for a period of 30 months. The temporary encampment swelled the population of the city and brought prosperity to many of the town's 2,000 citizens, as new businesses, streetcar transportation, and places for entertainment were established. The townspeople benefited from the $450,000 monthly Army payroll. The camp was located north of present-day 12th Avenue from the bay extending westward. Some permanent buildings were constructed for housing officers and for kitchen, laundry, and entertainment facilities, but the soldiers were housed in tents, most of which were furnished with electricity. Corrals were built for the horses, and tennis courts and baseball diamonds were laid out. Rows of streets divided the camp into individual regiments. Commentaries printed in the local newspapers praised the cleanliness of the camp and general health of the soldiers, in spite of mosquitoes and drainage problems during the heavy rains. The F-100F North American Super Sabra and the Burgess Curtiss biplane were the 2 planes that were widely used during the formation of the 1st Air Force Division. The 1st Provisional Aero Squadron was organized in Texas City on March 5, 1913. 9 of the 12 airplanes assigned to the United States Army were located on an airfield immediately south of Bay Street, where tents served as hangars. This Burgess Curtiss biplane represents one of the first flying machines used by the Signal Corps in training. This plane has a wingspan of 38 feet and 40 inches and an approximate length of 22 feet. This biplane has a cruising speed of 56 miles per hour and can hold 2 passengers at a time. At the time of purchasing, this plane cost $7,500.
Military aviation evolved from those primitive beginnings of military flying machines in service prior to the First World War and used for training in Texas City in 1913. The F-100F United States Air Force fighter represents the highly sophisticated military aircraft used during the Vietnam conflict. Placed into service in 1957, this aircraft flew in combat and training missions over Vietnam, Japan, Libya, and Germany. This aircraft had a wingspan of 38 feet and 9 inches and a length of 54 feet and 3 inches. Its max weight is 34,832 pounds and its max level speed is 864 miles per hour. The F-100F Super Sabra can travel a range of 1,500 miles and hold 2 passengers at a time. The original cost of this aircraft was $804,500. Astonishingly, this aircraft costs $5.96 million today.
Although the 5th Brigade of the 2nd Division was encamped at Fort Crockett in Galveston, the command headquarters for the 2nd Division continued to be located at the unnamed camp at Texas City. General Frederick Funston commanded the troops that sailed for Mexico, having assumed command of the 2nd Division following General Carter's departure and reassignment. Major General Franklin Bell, who had served as Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army from 1906 to 1910, succeeded Funston as commander. Major General Frederick Funston served in Cuba and the Philippines. Replacing Carter, he commanded the Army force during the occupation of Veracruz and later commanded troops of the Mexican border from February 1915 until his death. Brigadier General James Franklin Bell was a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy and began his military career with the 7th Cavalry in Dakota Territory. After distinguishing himself in the Philippines, he assumed command of the 2nd Division in Texas City in 1914. Major General William Harding Carter had served in the war between the states and the Indian Wars and was a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy and a student of Army organization. He served as the first commander of the 2nd Division.
In May 1990, Mayor Charles T. Doyle developed the concept of Bay Street Park. The theme of Bay Street Park was community involvement, and many local industries, civic groups, volunteers, and citizens provided labor, materials, and money. The site is composed of about 50 acres of land and 50 acres of freshwater lagoon. Bay Street Park was developed in 3 phases and is available to the public today. Shown here, Phase 1 was dedicated on July 2, 1994, and is devoted to the historical birthplace of U.S. military aviation. The 1st Aero Squadron USA was located in Texas City from 1913 to 1915. The Burgess Curtis biplane replica and the F-100 Saberjet are a tribute to the historical significance of this site. From humble beginnings in a small coastal town, it is amazing how our Air Force has grown to such a substantial branch of our military.